The incident. March 24th, 2008. Iowa City, Iowa. A cold, gray dawn blanketed the quiet suburbs as neighbors began their Monday routines. The smell of brewing coffee drifted through kitchens, dogs barked at delivery trucks, and children sleepily shuffled toward school buses. But at 629 Barrington Road, there was only stillness, an unnatural silence, like the hush before a storm. When police finally pushed open the front door, they were hit by an immediate, overwhelming smell: blood and death. The first room they entered was the master bedroom, where 42-year-old Cheryl Sueppel lay lifeless, her skull shattered by multiple blunt force blows. Downstairs, in a brightly decorated playroom meant for laughter and toys, they found 3-year-old Eleanor. Her tiny body had been brutally beaten. The pastel walls that once held crayon drawings were now stained with a horror no child should ever know. Upstairs, the remaining children, Ethan, 10, Seth, 8, and Mira, 5, were each discovered in their beds, beaten to death as they slept. Their small hands still clutched stuffed animals and soft blankets. They never even had time to cry out. There were no signs of forced entry, no overturned furniture, no frantic 911 calls from inside. Just silence. A silence so deep, it echoed. Meanwhile, on Interstate 80, a tan Toyota Sienna minivan sat charred against a concrete pillar. The fire had raged so hot that the interior was unrecognizable. The driver? Burned beyond recognition. Dental records would confirm what the scorched remains hinted at. It was Steven Sueppel, husband, father, respected banker, devout Catholic. He didn't simply flee from his actions. He orchestrated them with chilling precision before turning his rage upon himself. A man trusted by his church and loved by his family had become their executioner. Timeline of discovery. At exactly 6:31 a.m., a call came into Iowa City's 911 center. The voice on the other end was low, emotionless, almost as if the caller were reading a grocery list. He told the dispatcher to send officers to 629 Barrington Road. No explanation, no urgency in his tone, just a flat directive. Within minutes, officers arrived. The front door was unlocked, eerily inviting. They stepped cautiously inside, expecting perhaps a domestic dispute or a medical emergency. What they found instead would haunt them forever. Cheryl lay in bed as if she had simply drifted off to sleep, except for the brutal, catastrophic wounds to her head. Nearby, her wedding band glinted in the early morning light, a reminder of promises made and now violently broken. Downstairs, Eleanor was found among toys and children's books. The police officer who discovered her later described the scene as a nightmare you never wake up from. Upstairs, Ethan's bedroom was filled with cello sheet music and soccer trophies. Seth's room was decorated with drawings of animals and nature. Mira's bed was piled with stuffed unicorns and princess dolls. Each child lay exactly where they had fallen asleep, their lives snuffed out with methodical cruelty. While officers processed the home, another urgent call came in. A minivan had crashed into a concrete pillar on Interstate 80. Witnesses reported that the driver made no attempt to brake. He simply accelerated into the barrier and exploded into flames. When authorities linked the vehicle to the Sueppel household, their horror deepened. Back at the house, a 4-page handwritten confession sat on the kitchen table, each word steeped in cold finality. The victims and their life. From the outside, the Sueppels embodied the American dream. Steven, a former vice president at Hills Bank and Trust, was respected and trusted. Cheryl had been an elementary school teacher before devoting her life to motherhood. Together, they adopted 4 children from South Korea, proudly weaving an international family tapestry built on love and faith. Ethan, at 10, was a prodigy in many ways. He played cello beautifully, loved soccer, and spent weekends fishing with his dad. His teachers described him as a spark of light, eager to learn and help others. Seth, 8, was introspective and deeply kind. Animals adored him. Stray cats would follow him home, and he was known to spend hours observing bugs and birds in the backyard. He had a tender soul, quiet, but endlessly curious. Mira, 5, was the family entertainer. She adored performing magic tricks for visitors and had a laugh that could light up the darkest room. She was set to celebrate her 6th birthday the day after her death, a birthday that would never come. Little Eleanor, just 3, was inseparable from her father. She clung to his leg whenever they left the house, seeing him as her ultimate protector. Cheryl was the emotional heart of the home. She volunteered at the Iowa Children's Museum, organized neighborhood book clubs, and attended every soccer game. Her warmth was magnetic. Friends said she could make you feel like family within minutes. They were not wealthy in the traditional sense. Their wealth was measured in bedtime stories, shared meals, and laughter echoing down the hallways. They believed in kindness, service, and community. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing, one that would soon engulf them all. Crime scene breakdown. When crime scene investigators walked through the Sueppel home, they were confronted with a tableau of horror so shocking that even seasoned officers wept. Cheryl was found first. Still in her nightgown, she had been attacked in her sleep. Her face was so badly damaged that identifying her relied on dental records. Blood soaked the mattress, trailing down to the floor. In the playroom, Eleanor lay crumpled amid plastic blocks and stuffed toys, her injuries inflicted with staggering force. Upstairs, Ethan, Seth, and Mira lay motionless in their beds, each victim to the same brutal fate. Their tiny rooms were frozen snapshots of childhood, posters of superheroes and fairy tales, model rockets, princess crowns. Nothing broken, nothing thrown in desperation. They never woke up to see it coming. The weapon was a baseball bat. In the confession letter, Steven detailed how he had first tried to kill his family using carbon monoxide. He started the family minivan in the garage and tried to let the fumes seep into the house. But when that failed, he resorted to direct violence. He guided the children back inside one by one and finished what he started. Then he set off toward Interstate 80, leaving behind a trail of voicemails and handwritten confessions, as if narrating his descent into darkness step by step. At the crash site, the van was nothing but a smoldering husk. Investigators found remains so charred they needed dental records to confirm his identity. The confession left no doubt. Steven Sueppel had orchestrated this from start to fiery finish. Suspicion and lies. For years, Steven Sueppel maintained a facade of respectability. To friends and colleagues, he was a devoted father, an involved church member, a man you could trust with your most sensitive financial secrets. But beneath that mask was a secret. Hills Bank and Trust, where Steven worked for nearly 2 decades, quietly discovered he had embezzled over $550,000, siphoned over 7 long years. The story he told investigators was that the money fueled a gambling and drug addiction. But evidence showed no Vegas trips, no drug dealer connections, no high roller purchases. The Sueppel home was comfortable but modest. No luxury cars, no designer clothes. So where did it all go? Some believed Steven had simply stockpiled it, feeding an obsession with control and security. Others suggested he might have planned to vanish one day, a new life waiting somewhere beyond the horizon. In December 2007, the bank confronted him. He was fired immediately and charged with embezzlement and money laundering. The legal consequences loomed large, up to 30 years in prison and financial ruin. Yet even after his arrest, life seemed to move forward. Cheryl returned to work, standing by her husband with quiet faith. The children went to school, attended soccer games, played cello recitals. They even shared smiles at Easter Mass the day before their deaths. From the outside, the Sueppels were weathering the storm. But Steven was unraveling. Each day, the image he had so carefully built, the devoted father, the upstanding churchgoer, crumbled more. And in the silent corridors of his mind, he began to see only one exit. The turning point. Easter Sunday, March 23, 2008. The Sueppels attended Mass as usual, smiling and chatting, hiding the darkness brewing inside Steven. That night, he left a chilling voicemail. "My family is in heaven." He tried to drown himself, but just floated. Then, at 6:31 a.m., he called 911 to check his home. Minutes later, he crashed into a concrete pillar at full speed, dying in a fireball. Psychology and motive. Why would a father destroy his entire family? Known as family annihilation, it often stems from shame and despair. Steven faced a shattered identity, a respected banker, a devoted Catholic, now an embezzler. He convinced himself death was mercy for his family, shielding them from future shame. It wasn't rage, but twisted, delusional love. Aftermath and emotional echo. Iowa City was left in shock. At a vigil, neighbors wept. Cheryl's father even forgave Steven, calling him still a son. Instead of balloons for Mira's 6th birthday, her small casket was lowered into the ground. Years later, the case remains a chilling reminder. Even in perfect families, darkness can hide. Was Steven a broken man or a coward?